Dodgers starting pitcher Trevor Bauer gets reinstated. And if you have any common sense at all, you're not going to go on YouTube and crack any jokes about it. Hi, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report, and it's a special edition. We're pretty much only going to talk about Trevor Bauer this morning because, in my arrogant little opinion, it's arguably the biggest thing that's happened in LA sports in quite a while. If you like the content we put out, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yeah, comment. How could you not want to comment on something like this? And frankly, it wouldn't surprise me if you don't like some of the things I'm about to say. We're going to talk about a lot of different aspects of what went down yesterday. Meanwhile, let's look at the scoreboard first. Adrian Kempe scored the game-winning goal in overtime, and the Kings have won 4 straight after defeating Calgary last night 4-3. Meanwhile, tonight, Charlotte will be at Crypto.com Arena to take on the Lakers at 6:30. LA's been obviously shorthanded without Anthony Davis, but Russell Westbrook is probably going to play. The Kings will play for 2 consecutive nights. The second game will be out in Phoenix at 6:30. And also, the Clippers will be in Philadelphia. That's a terrific matchup. That's going to be at 4 o'clock. But I want to talk a lot about this, and hopefully you'll understand where I'm coming from, because I am not here to make a defense of Trevor Bauer. I try to call things straight down the middle, okay? So let's get a couple of things out of the way, because I've been thinking about this a ton since the news dropped. I would not set Trevor Bauer up with any woman if we were friends or if we knew each other. Hey, is your sister single? I don't know, dude. For all I know, I have no idea. For all I know, she's non-binary. I don't know. I wouldn't do that, because I wouldn't want what I saw in the photos of the woman to happen to any woman. I know we all have our own private things that some people like this, that, or the other behind closed doors. I wouldn't want that to happen to my wife. Even if she asked, she would have to look for another guy. I have very deep feelings about damaging people like that. I think women are inherently beautiful. I wouldn't want that. Damaging beauty doesn't make sense to me. But while I wouldn't set him up with any woman, while I wouldn't want that to happen to a woman, there's a reason that the case never went to court. So let's start with the basics. Trevor Bauer's suspension for violating Major League Baseball's domestic violence policy was reduced, in layman's terms, to time served by an arbitrator yesterday. It was supposed to be 2 seasons, in other words, through the end of the 2023 season. Technically, it was 2.5 years if you count the time that Major League Commissioner Rob Manfred dragged his feet on the whole matter. And we're going to talk about Manfred in a moment. By the way, in case you noticed, I'm still in Anchorage, Alaska. I'll be back home tomorrow. If you recall, Bauer, a 31-year-old Cy Young Award winner, was accused by a woman of assault over the course of 2 rounds of sex that happened in 2021 in April and May. There are photos of the woman. They are not pleasant to look at. Actually, kind of gross. If you had a puking bucket by the side of your breakfast table because you don't know how to cook breakfast, I assume you should bring that bucket over if you ever look at the photos. Bauer, for his part, said the sex was consensual, and he denied her version of the story completely. Again, we do not know what happened in that room. We don't. No matter how hard your opinions are, you and I don't know. What we do know is that LA County's district attorney did not file criminal charges. We also know that there are sexually explicit texts from her to Bauer that imply that the sex was consensual, that they imply it. Sources have told Major League Baseball, or have said that Major League Baseball knew of other women who had similar complaints about Bauer. For example, accusations of strangulation, accusations of forced sodomy. Those are other accusations. Some of the things that were said, not particularly pleasant either. Since then, Bauer's legal team has filed multiple lawsuits against the accuser, against 2 media companies. The woman, meanwhile, is suing him. And I don't want to get sued. So I can't really register a whole lot of opinions, particularly about something I don't know for sure. But what I can tell you about is what happens next, or guess, give you an educated guess as to what happens next, and ask other questions. 1, did Major League Commissioner Rob Manfred overstep his bounds? That's a legit question to ask, because Bauer never served a day in jail. There may be a legit reason for that. Number 2, what's next for the Dodgers? Number 3, what's next for Bauer? And 4, ultimately, what does this whole thing say about us as sports fans? Let's start with the Dodgers. The one thing that you should know is that they have to add him to the roster or straight up cut him. They have to make that decision by January 6th, which if you think about January 6th, I'm starting to think it should be renamed National Conspiracy Theory Day, wouldn't you say? They released on Twitter a very bland no comment, but we also know in the past, team president Stan Kasten described the allegations as deeply troubling. A Los Angeles Times reporter ran the numbers because, after all, if Bauer is on the roster, he is going to get paid. So he ran the numbers, and he believes that Los Angeles would owe Bauer approximately $22 million left on his contract. That would bring the Dodger payroll to about $232 million, which is just under the salary cap of $233 million. I made a prediction a few weeks ago that the Dodgers were going to, because the Dodgers did not know if Bauer's suspension would be reduced, that their approach to free agency was predicated on Bauer. What does that mean? If you're a Dodger fan and you're saying, why didn't they go after Aaron Judge? It was because of Trevor Bauer. Why didn't they try to replace or retain Trey Turner? It was because of Trevor Bauer. Why did Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger get etc.? Why did they get let go? It was because of Trevor Bauer. You should understand that, because I believe the Dodgers saw this coming. I think they saw the reduced salary coming. Did you notice it's barely $1 million under the salary cap? If you go over the salary cap in Major League Baseball for 3 consecutive years, you not only pay a fine, but they add fines on top of fines. The Dodgers wanted to avoid that. So the Dodgers have been negatively impacted by the Bauer signing for 2 off seasons, not just this last one. I want you to recall the offseason from the year ago. Bauer hadn't even been suspended yet. He was placed on administrative leave, which is basically a non-suspension suspension. So as a result, the Dodgers didn't know if they were going to be paying Bauer for the next year. As the consequence of that, they didn't re-sign the closer they wanted. They wanted Kenley Jansen back. He went to Atlanta. So we were watching Craig Kimbrell blow save after save over the Bauer situation, if you think about it. What's next for Bauer? Well, LA Times columnist Bill Plaschke wrote this really emotional column that, frankly, I didn't read. It's not that I think Bill Plaschke is wrong. I think it's obvious to say, hey, sexual assault is wrong. No kidding. Thank you, Dr. Insight. I know it's wrong. However, I've also seen online polls of Dodger fans, and the majority of Dodger fans in that online poll apparently want Trevor Bauer to pitch for the Dodgers again. Whew, that is a tough call, but we'll get to more of that in a moment. Basically, there's also a USA Today columnist who wrote that LA will release Bauer, but he cites 0 sources. So I don't know whether or not to believe USA Today in this regard. The press has been wildly inaccurate about the Dodgers for the entire offseason. Oh, they're going after Judge. They're going after Justin Verlander. No, they didn't. They wound up with Jason Hayward, right? So the following about Trevor Bauer's future with the Dodgers is only a guess. It is a guess, but it is an educated one. The Dodgers view every player as an asset, much like Disney views every employee as a, quote, cast member. LA's front office, in my opinion, because they also knew about the salary cap situation, LA's front office expected this possibility, anticipated it. So the question the Dodgers have to answer is, does this asset named Trevor Bauer have any value whatsoever? For example, can I trade Trevor Bauer? Can I trade him to Team X and tell Team X, look, we will pay almost his entire salary. You will get a guy who won a Cy Young, could have won a second Cy Young, was pitching like a Cy Young Award winner for us in the brief time we had him. You can get him for this much money. We'll pay the rest. Will you take him? Because we want salary cap relief. We want salary cap relief. What about, hey, also do that and just give us a couple of prospects from the minor leagues in the process? If that case happens, does Trevor Bauer have any value to another team? We don't know yet, but it's a possibility. That's why the Dodgers haven't released him yet. In addition to that, if you're going to pay the man, and if you see him as an asset that could be tradable, maybe you don't put him on the major league roster. Maybe you send him to the minor leagues. Showcase his abilities. See if you can work out a trade like that. Let him be Oklahoma City's problem. That's a very cold-blooded thing to say. I realize that. But would you do it? Because just cutting him and just handing him a fat check for $22 million and getting nothing back? I don't think the Dodgers are particularly interested in doing that. But that's just an educated guess. What about baseball commissioner Rob Manfred? Currently, this man is getting off scot-free, and I think he deserves a lot of heat. Lots of it. Don't let him off the hook. Here's why. Bauer and Manfred have history, and it's not good history. Before all this happened, Bauer was highly critical of Manfred's handling of the Astros cheating scandal. Bauer was very critical in public of Manfred's handling of all these rule changes, pitch clocks, for example, coming in from the bullpen in a certain amount of time. Bauer was under the impression, and I don't think he's wrong, that Bauer was under the impression to say that all of these changes screw with pitchers. He's a pitcher. He didn't want to get screwed with. So basically, he voiced his complaints. Is it possible Manfred held a grudge? It's very much possible. Ask yourself, 15 players have been suspended under Major League Baseball's domestic violence policy. Bauer's had the longest in history. And you're saying, well, maybe that's because the photos are bad. Maybe that's because there are other accusers. That's a fair critique. Having said that, Bauer, a person who was suspended longer than Bauer, a pitcher named Felipe Vasquez. Vasquez is currently in jail for a sexual assault of a minor. In jail, Vasquez never went to court. Bauer. Why was Bauer's suspension longer than the guy convicted of sexual assault with a minor? Can anybody answer that? For that matter, why did Manfred drag his heels from July 2nd, 2021, that's when the so-called administrative leave took place, until May of 2022, after the case was decided never to be pursued by the district attorney? If Rob Manfred was the strong leader that he claims to be, he would have made a decision sometime between July 2nd, 2021 and May of 2022, almost an entire calendar year. He had facts. He let Bauer twist in the wind. He also let the Dodgers twist in the wind. Does that strike you as a particularly fair move by the guy? Or was it vindictive? Was it vindictive? Keep in mind, if Manfred had made a decision earlier, Bauer would have had an opportunity to mount a defense. The Dodgers, if they didn't want him, would have had a lot more time to try to recover, maybe keep Kenley Jansen, maybe keep some of their free agents in the offseason. So in my opinion, since Bauer never went to court, Manfred is technically one of the villains in this story. Finally, what does this say about us? Well, I hearken back to the Kobe Bryant case. There were radio hosts across Los Angeles who swore that Bryant was innocent. And why did they swear he was innocent? Well, because it's Kobe Bryant, right? It's Kobe. He couldn't possibly do that. Oh, yes, he could have. We don't know. Again, we don't know, but it is possible. What happened between that lady and Kobe out in Denver is a matter right now between Kobe and the God I believe in. But what's striking to me about this whole situation is how fans of other teams and our own Dodger fans have reacted to this situation. Take a look at San Diego. I saw Padres fans tweeting yesterday, oh, this is why the Dodgers aren't classy. We're classy. We're San Diego. Oh, really? Do you remember Jose Torres, suspended for 100 games, a Padres pitcher, suspended 100 games for domestic violence policy infractions? Are you classy, San Diego? What about Eric Sear, who was accused of rape? Are you sure you're so classy, San Diego? What about San Francisco? Anybody remember Sam Dyson, accused of rape? What about Jose Reyes over with the Colorado Rockies? And don't get me started on NFL players from all those cities and more who have been accused of sexual assault. So the point I'm trying to say is not, oh, we're classier than everybody else. That's not the point. The bottom line is this: when you become a fan of a team, when you become the fan of a team, you make an unwritten pact. I will root for this team knowing that some of the players that I cheer for are capable of violent crime. It's an ugly reality, but it's one that we have to all acknowledge. Whatever city we represent, if we root for a team, there's a really good chance we are rooting for criminals. You root for criminals, and so do I. It's not pleasant. But because of that, I do not claim to be classier, San Diego. I don't claim to be classier. All I claim is that Los Angeles is the greatest sports city in the world. But the teams I root for does not make me a better person. It definitely doesn't make me more attractive. It doesn't make me a smarter person. It simply makes me a fan, just like any other person on this planet. I don't know, to repeat, if Bauer is an innocent man. I don't believe Bauer is a good man. But those are my opinions mixed in with a lot of facts from yesterday. If you want to comment, I absolutely look forward to hearing what you have to say, because I'm here to tell you, I get your anger if you're angry. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk about LA sports here every single day. We'll be back with a more traditional morning report tomorrow, but I thought this was really important. Thank you for watching. I'm James. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Have a good morning.